Ladies and gentlemen, imagine you're stuck in 1985 Michigan, and someone tells you, "I've built a motorcycle that looks like a fighter jet, corners like a go-kart, and sips fuel like a camel on vacation." Now imagine you turn around, and there it is, 16 feet, long, shaped like a missile, and with a sliding plexiglass canopy like it's about to deploy flares and engage afterburners. Welcome, my friends, to the utterly bonkers, bizarrely brilliant Pulse Autocycle. Before we roll down this aerodynamic rabbit hole, slap that subscribe button like it owes you gas money. Here on Timmy Tiny Wheels, we cover the forgotten, the fiberglassed, and the fantastically weird wonders of automotive history. And the Pulse? Oh, it's the creme de la cockpit. Let's take it from the top. 1985, United States of America. The Cold War's simmering, Miami Vice is on TV, and Owasso, Michigan, suddenly becomes the unlikely birthplace of a futuristic autocycle. This slippery banana of a machine was first dreamed up by aircraft designer Jim Bede. You might know him from the ill-fated BD-5 jet, and brought to life by businessman David Vaughan. Vaughan, an injection molding guru, joined forces with Bede and Tomorrow Corp's Stan Leitner to create the Lightstar prototype. By mid-1985, after some turbulence in corporate musical chairs, Vaughan took full control, relocated everything to Owasso, and rebranded the machine as the Pulse. Now let me be clear. This wasn't my cousin's kit car from the back of a popular mechanics magazine. This was a fully enclosed autocycle, technically a motorcycle, legally a loophole, and spiritually a Batmobile with training wheels. It was marketed as a ground-cruising recreational vehicle, which I believe is just 3 impressive-sounding words arranged in alphabetical confusion. But it worked. The Pulse looked like something that should have launched from Cape Canaveral. Each Pulse was built by hand, supervised by Ed and Sue Butcher, in what can only be described as a glorified pole barn. Workers shared shop space with chickens, hay bales, and sometimes frostbite. By 1986, about 35 employees were building roughly 2 Pulses a day, until bankruptcy knocked on the hangar door. Still, between 1985 and 1990, around 325 to 347 units were completed, depending on which Pulse historian you believe. Some sources round it to about 360, and frankly, at that point, I think even the chickens stopped counting. But let's pop the canopy and dive into the mechanical madness. At the heart of the Pulse throbbed a motorcycle engine, usually a Honda Goldwing Flat 4, water-cooled, rear-mounted, and blessed with a proper 5-speed manual gearbox and a reverse gear, which, let's face it, every real motorcycle rider would have killed for at least once. Factory engines ranged from the common 400cc Yamaha singles twins to Honda Flat 4s of 1085 to 182cc, with the big 4s quoted at 85 plus HP. That might not sound like much, until you remember the whole vehicle weighed just over 1,000 pounds, roughly 454 kilograms. According to factory literature, 60 miles per hour came in about 6.7 seconds, with a top speed north of 130 miles per hour. That's enough to get you pulled over and interrogated about alien technology. Seating was tandem, like a bobsled, but more polite. The driver sat up front with a real steering wheel, pedals, and gauges. The poor soul behind had to straddle the driver like they were riding pillion on a Vespa, but inside a plexiglass torpedo. The canopy slid open like an F-16's, either halfway or fully, and some owners even removed it completely for open-air absurdity. The Pulse rolled on full-size 13-inch car tires front and rear. But here's the kicker. It had little outrigger wheels mounted on short arms, 8-inch trailer tires that kept it upright at low speeds or while parked. Once up to speed, those outrigger wheels lifted off the ground and the Pulse rode like a normal vehicle. You didn't lean into turns like on a motorcycle. You cornered flat, with confidence, and hopefully without catching side gusts from passing semis. Suspension was a coilover affair with single-sided swing arms front and rear, while braking was handled by hydraulic discs on the main wheels. Dimensionally, it was all theater. A 123-inch wheelbase, an overall length of 16 feet, that's 4.9 meters, a width around 6 feet, 1.8 meters, and a height hovering near 4.5 feet, 1.4 meters. But the real magic was the drag coefficient, a svelte 0.19. That's slipperier than a greased eel in a car wash, and it meant fuel economy that made hybrids weep with jealousy. Factory numbers claimed up to 100 miles per gallon. Real-world reports were more like 50 to 55 miles per gallon, though one obsessive founder routinely pulled 75 to 80 miles per gallon during 100-mile test drives. Even safety wasn't overlooked. 2 tubular roll bars, one fore and one aft, were built into the frame. You got proper seatbelts, a hard shell, and the smug satisfaction of knowing you were driving the safest motorcycle on the road. Licensing depended on your state. Some issued motorcycle plates, some autocycle tags, and a few probably just gave up and labeled it Other. Comfort? Optional. You could tick boxes for air conditioning, a stereo cassette player, heater defroster, and even pop-up headlights, because of course it had pop-ups. And in case you're wondering, yes, most owners trailered their Pulses. It rode too rough for long-distance comfort on bad roads, and besides, nothing says collector flex like towing your land jet with a Buick. In terms of real-world comparison, it lived somewhere between a bike and a microcar. It was quicker than most K cars, leaner than any VW Bug, and cooler than every fiberglass trike my cousin Gary ever tried to assemble. The only real downside? Try parallel parking it in downtown Detroit without taking out a parking meter. At the end of the day, the Owasso Pulse wasn't just transportation. It was a statement. A declaration that the roads don't have to be filled with boring boxes and four-door yawns. It was built in barns, sold in brochures, and driven by eccentrics, visionaries, and probably one guy named Carl who thought it could fly if he just went fast enough. And while production was limited and commercial success modest, its legend has only grown. The Pulse didn't have direct competitors. I mean, how many other plexiglass jet-shaped autocycles were on the market in 1986? 0. That's how many. Sure, you could buy a Honda Goldwing and get the same engine, but you'd be exposed to weather and you couldn't pretend you were Maverick from Top Gun. Or maybe you'd go for a kit car like a Bradley GT, another oddball, but it didn't have the same wind tunnel credentials or tandem cockpit fantasy. So if you see a Pulse coming down the street, don't laugh. Salute. You're witnessing a rare survivor of America's most ambitious attempt to build a flying motorcycle that just didn't fly. Unless you count down steep hills. Now for the numbers. Back in 1985, a base Pulse would run you about $8,495. That's around $23,000 today. Add in options, and late 1980s models could reach nearly $15,000, or about $37,000 in today's money. But the collector market is wild. A tidy 1986 Pulse sold at RM Sotheby's for $29,150 in 2011. Meanwhile, a rare 1987 model fetched a rocket-worthy $40,700 at Mecum in 2018. One even hit close to $57,000 in private hands. So next time someone tells you that weird can't be valuable,